Hello everyone, it's Skill here from the Grim Reapers, and today I will be going through a hardware review for the Authentikit Replica Spitfire Mark IX Throttle Quadrant. The Throttle Quadrant is the next part in their series of self-assembled 3D printed controls for the Spitfire Mark IX, following on from their excellent spade grip. If you have not already watched my review video for the Authentikit Spitfire Mark IX spade grip, I would recommend that you give it a watch at some point, as to get the most out of these flight controls you need to use them together. I cannot do a review of the throttle without first spending a little time talking about Authentikit and the idea behind their system. Authentikit's aim is to release to the public, for free, plans for 3D printing flight controls, not just for the Spitfire Mark IX, but for other warbirds and eventually other general aviation aircraft. All of the files and information can be found on their website. They also have their own Discord and a YouTube channel where you can find excellent tutorial videos on how to assemble all of their controls and hardware. I will put links for all of these in the video description below. As I said, the aim of Authentikit is to release the plans to enable anyone with a 3D printer to download them and print the main parts of the various flight controls. Once you have the printed parts, the files also contain the details of all the other hardware components you require to complete the control. You can either source the components yourself, or as an alternative, MkIX Supplies, which is a partner to Authentikit, offers a kit service where they sell complete kits of all the hardware parts, including wiring, bearings, etc., for the particular product you are assembling. One of the recent developments that has been made over at Authentikit is the recommended selling price scheme. Previously, you either had to have a 3D printer or obtain the services of someone else with a 3D printer to print the rest of the parts you required. Now, the Community Print Services section of the Authentikit website has been updated and contains details of a recommended selling price scheme. As I understand it, the scheme is administered by MkIX Supplies, who are organising third-party printers and getting them to register with the scheme and agree to charge the recommended selling price for each kit. I think this is a great step forward, as it means that people like me, without 3D printer, can buy a full kit with confidence that has been printed to a high standard by someone with experience and good reviews. Again, all the details about the scheme, the kits and pricing are being added to the Authentikit website. Anyway, I'd better get on with the actual hardware side of this video, or it'll end up 3 hours long and Cap will ban me from ever being near YouTube again. First of all, full disclosure time. I was sent the completed throttle quadrant and mounting hardware by Authentikit to carry out this review. They didn't ask for any favourable comments, they only asked that I be fair and honest. I've included some images of what I received. There is the throttle quadrant itself, some connecting cables, and the mounting hardware, which consists of a metal pole and some 3D printed parts. First of all, I will talk about the mounting and the mounting hardware. As you can see, I have had to alter how I have my rig mounted away from the standard rig as it is described on the Authentikit site. This is due to the way of my setup, as I need to be able to move certain elements around due to the number of different virtual aircraft I have to fly, as well as for testing other controls and components. I think this just shows the flexibility within the whole design. I have moved away from the standard rig setup, but that's not a problem. A single arm extends from the main pole of the original rig. To this arm you fit the quick release mounting plates for the throttle, as well as the elevator and rudder trim wheels. You can see that I have the plates for the trim wheels attached. I do not have the trim wheels to attach to them. The throttle, as with every other Authentikit component, uses the Authentikit quick release system to mount to the rig. I have the mounting plate set vertically. However, the throttle is designed so that it is cambered inwards at the top to mimic how the real thing is mounted within the aircraft. Included in the box were an additional 3x RJ45 sockets and a bunch of wires, along with a wee note reminding me that because I had the original design of the universal hub with only one connection for the spade grip, I would have to put my DIY skills to the test for this review and fit the additional RJ45 sockets and wire them up to the Leo Bodnar board inside the universal hub. I will quickly go through that process and show some images of my progress as I went. I followed the video tutorial on the Authentikit YouTube channel, which shows the whole procedure very well. I also downloaded and printed off the wiring diagrams from their website, which I found to be extremely easy to follow, and together with the video made what might have initially seemed like a bit of a daunting task very straightforward. Once the universal hub was all put together, with the additional sockets all wired in, it is basically plug and play. I connected the throttle to the universal hub via the cable, and as it goes through the same Leo Bodnar board as the spade grip, you still only require one USB connection to the PC. Once it was plugged into the computer, I calibrated it via the Windows control panel and it was ready to fly. Right, finally I can get to the throttle itself. As with the spade grip, the throttle quadrant is a 1:1 scale replica of the unit mounted within the real aircraft. It is beautifully well designed and put together. All of the main structural parts are 3D printed. All of the hardware is of high quality using Hall effect sensors and sealed bearings. The throttle incorporates 3 axes and a push button. The 3 axes are as follows: the engine RPM or air screw lever, the throttle lever and handle, which includes a push button for bomb release, and the mixture lever. I'll start with the RPM air screw lever. It is, as per the real thing, kind of separate from the other controls. It's bolted onto the outside of the main housing. This means that it's got a great range of movement and travels between 2 stops, one at either end of its rotation. The movement is super smooth, and the length of throw of the axis gives great precision control to the engine RPM, which, as we all know, is crucial for the Spitfire, especially in DCS, if you don't want to kill your motor. Next is the throttle lever. This lever is mounted within its own channel built into the main throttle housing. It has an excellent range of travel. The movement is smooth and there is a nice amount of resistance, and is assisted by pieces of felt tape which are mounted on both sides of the interior of the channel. The felt tape also helps to prevent any sounds of plastic scraping on plastic. As you push the throttle lever forward to increase power, there is a step or gate in the channel towards the front of the movement, where the lever is stopped, preventing you from accidentally going to max power and again killing your motor. You can push through this gate to get into maximum boost levels, or for you Americans out there, wartime emergency power. Incorporated into the handle mounted on the throttle lever, the push button for the bomb release. This button has a nice positive tactile feel to it. It is recessed within the end of the throttle handle, and this, along with the positive action, makes it unlikely that you'll accidentally depress the button and drop your bombs on an orphanage. Well, hopefully anyway. A nice detail of the throttle is the routing of the cable from the bomb release button. To keep the design as authentic and true to the real thing as possible, it has been designed so that the wire extends externally within a piece of silicone tubing from the throttle handle, where it then curves its way through a couple of mounting brackets before going back into the main housing at the lower front. Now the next axis is the one that has caused me the biggest issue, the mixture lever. Now don't misunderstand me, the physical lever is as equally well made and designed as the rest of the throttle quadrant. The axis has a large travel range, it has a lovely smooth feel to its movement, a nice amount of friction and resistance. It has the same felt tape lined channel to ensure there are no horrible plastic on plastic sounds. So, what, you may ask, is my problem? Well, I shall tell you. When I fly the Spit these days, it is by far, more often than not, in DCS. Now I know the mixture control in the Mark 9 Spit is automatic, so basically it's off or automatic. However, in DCS, the mixture control lever can only be bound to a binary function, such as a keystroke or a switch. As the lever on the Authentikit throttle is an analog axis, as it stands you cannot bind it to the control of the mixture lever in DCS. Well, not natively anyway, without some kind of key emulator or other technical wizardry. However, I have reached out to the lovely people over at Eagle Dynamics and asked if there would be any way that they could add a bindable axis to the control for the mixture lever in-game. Now, no promises, but I did receive a positive reply, so hopefully at some point in the not too distant future we might be able to bind the axis from the Authentikit mixture lever to the one in-game. I've been using the throttle quadrant for a couple of weeks now and putting it through its paces, throwing the Spitfire around the sky. I am pleased to report that I've had no problems or faults develop and that everything has stayed in one piece. The overall quality is excellent, and it's clear that Authentikit has spent a great deal of time refining the design and selecting the best materials and hardware to make this another top-notch product. Now for the costs, which will vary a great deal depending on how you plan on building your kit. Of course, the plans and the files that you need are all free to download. If you have a 3D printer yourself, you can print the parts for the cost of the filament used. You can choose to source the hardware components yourself, or you can make use of MkIX supplies and purchase the ready-made kits. If you do not have the facility to print the parts yourself, you can make use of the third-party printer services, and the prices for the various kits and services are now being added to the Authentikit and MkIX supplies sites. As an example, the listed prices for the Spitfire Mark 9 add-on kit B, which includes all of the additional mounting hardware to attach it to your standard rig, are as follows. Bear in mind that you will also need Starter Kit A, which includes the universal hub to make this all work. So for the hardware and self-printed parts, the listed price at the moment is £82 plus postage and packaging. For the full kit, including 3D printed parts and the hardware, on the recommended selling price scheme, it is £257 plus postage and packaging. Now, as I say, that's a massive difference in prices depending on how you plan on building your kit. And the prices, especially for the kit including the pre-printed parts, might seem quite high compared to what it would cost if you were to print the parts yourself. But taking into consideration the huge amount of time that it will take the third-party printer to print all the parts on your behalf, it all seems pretty reasonable. And at the end of the day, once you have this kit, you will have 3 high quality and authentic looking Spitfire controls to add to your sim pit. In conclusion, as with the Authentikit Spade Grip, I can honestly and wholeheartedly recommend this product to anyone who loves flying the Spitfire in any one of our favourite sims. The immersion factor, for me, especially in VR, is unbeatable. Authentikit is still evolving and bringing in new ideas, designs and products, which can only be a great thing for our wee section of the flight sim world. The addition of the recommended selling price scheme, with the third-party printers signing up to provide high-quality kits of 3D printed parts, makes these products much more obtainable to those of us without the ability to print them ourselves. Well, this is Skill. Thank you all for taking the time to watch this review, and I hope you found it useful. Catch you later.